In 1974, over 70 UFO sightings would occur just north of Stockholm, Sweden, in the suburb of Vallentuna. Over 30 witnesses would report seeing craft over an 18-month period, with the majority happening over a 2-night span. Not only were multiple sightings reported, but at least one alien abduction was reported as well. In addition, the sightings were taken seriously by the Swedish government, who decided to send men to the area. In this episode, we will examine one of Sweden's most famous UFO cases, the Vallentuna sightings. While many residents of Vallentuna spotted UFOs during the time span, two incidents that occurred on March 23rd and March 24th of 1974 stand out. On the night of March 24th, 1974, Hillevi and Ingvar Anderson, along with their 3 kids, were resting at home. Hillevi decided to call her mom, who lived only around 15 minutes away. After several attempts, neither her mother or her father answered the phone. Worried, Hillevi gathered the kids and they piled into the car. Ingvar was still working and would stay back home. Hillevi and the kids began driving toward the home, which was located in Orkesta. As they were traveling, though, the group would suddenly see a bright light hovering over a field. It would then vanish. However, it would soon reappear directly behind them. The light was now trailing and appeared to be following them. Hillevi was able to see the craft briefly. It looked metallic, although when she looked again, it turned orange and shrunk, seemingly either vanishing or quickly flying away. As they continued on, they would eventually arrive at Hillevi's parents' home around 8 p.m. Hillevi's dad came outside and told them their phone was out of order and his TV was not working. Then, as Hillevi was telling her dad about the light, they would see the bright light again hovering over some trees in a quarry. There was the big bright light, and also there was a smaller orange light. Several rays of light would come down from the craft onto the ground. At this time, the smaller orange light next to the larger craft began quickly moving in a zigzag motion. The larger craft then shrank and flew away in an instant. After a few minutes, a decision was made to go to Hillevi's brother's home. He lived around 5 minutes away by car. As they drove, they didn't spot the craft, but once they reached the home, Hillevi's sister-in-law came out and asked them if they saw the light following them. Worried at this point, they decided to leave and head back home toward Hillevi's home. Hillevi's brother decided to follow them to ensure they got home safe. As they began driving once again, they would soon see both the craft and the smaller orange ball of light. Hillevi was scared but also curious and decided to pull over the car. Then the large bright light would hover over the car and engulf it with light. One of Hillevi's daughters would attempt to get out, but Hillevi stopped her. Later, the daughter would say she heard a voice in her head telling her she needed to come out. The bright object soon flew away and eventually disappeared from sight. The next day, Hillevi would call both the police and the Swedish National Defense Research Institute. While they were skeptical at first, soon over 70 reports would come in from at least 30 witnesses reporting to see strange lights in the sky. Hillevi would be offered to go through hypnotic regression, but refused as she didn't experience any lost time. Perhaps the stranger story from this event involves a man who did experience lost time. The story of Gösta Häger is truly a frightening one. Häger was a school janitor who would have an incredible experience on March 23rd, the night before Hillevi's encounter. He was walking back from a social gathering and would see a light on the ground. As he walked toward it, a light hit him, and he suddenly blacked out and woke up outside his house. His head was bleeding, and he had bruises everywhere. His wife woke him up and took him to the hospital. He had no memory of what had happened. In order to recover his memories, Häger met with Dr. Ture Arvidsson, who suggested performing hypnotic regressions to uncover the lost memories. During the sessions, it was discovered that when the bright light hit Häger, he was sucked upward onto the craft. He found himself on a table in a large room. There were creatures around him, 4, that were wearing some type of shiny hood. He couldn't make out whether they had hair, but he did see eyes, but no mouth or no nose. He recalled the beings were experimenting on him with some type of metallic tools. Häger attempted to fight off the beings, but wasn't able to. Interestingly, while under hypnosis, Häger would scream he couldn't say anything many times. Investigators would conclude that he was somehow had been prevented from telling his story. It was as if the beings had placed some type of thought in his mind around keeping the abduction a secret. The beings told him that they wouldn't hurt him, but they told him as well, according to hypnosis, that they wouldn't allow him to remember. After more tests, it was revealed that he had been exposed to very powerful electrical fields, and also he had developed more senses as well. In time, another witness would state she saw a strange light in the area Häger was abducted. In response to all the reports, the commander-in-chief in Sweden, Stig Synnergren, asked the Home Defense Department to send staff to the area in case the objects returned. Labeled as Operation S, it was later revealed that after observing the area and the events, it was concluded that there were physical objects over Vallentuna, although no one knew exactly what it was. The unit sent, which was around 50 men, would report seeing unexplained activity in the sky during their time there. One interesting fact surrounding the case is that Hillevi Anderson saw the UFO hovering right where she had a near-death experience. When Hillevi was 4, the quarry at the time had several pools of water that the kids swam in. Hillevi fell in and lost consciousness. She recalled seeing bright lights and being at peace. It might be a coincidence, but it seems strange the UFO chose to hover over that area. There's never been any sort of rational explanation as to what people saw those nights. With so many witnesses, it seems like a strong possibility that people witnessed unidentified flying objects. The stories have never wavered, and these two are just two of many. The last question concerns Hillevi. Was she and her children abducted that night? She clearly didn't experience missing time, but the beings seemed very interested in her. It should also be said that she and her children experienced vomiting, migraines, and a higher level of white blood cells after the event. This could have just been from being close to the craft, or perhaps they were taken.